about us is important, right? And so I think that by being able to talk about anything that affects us emotionally, physically, that's a really healthy thing for each one of us to be able to do. That's why I see it as a good thing, because then if there's problems, say in relationships with sex, then that's good, because if a couple can talk about it, that's very important, that they can talk about their needs and what they don't need or don't want in a relationship. So I think that's very good that we are talking about it more.
Even stricter religions can talk about sexuality, more so than we did before. But if you look at evangelical and right-wing sort of fundamentalist religions in the United States, for example, to which 45% of the American population subscribe, they have some very strict notions about sexuality. And individuals born into those families that have alternative sexualities or have sex before marriage often do so at emotional peril within those religions because they're not very tolerant of differences.
In ancient Greece, for example, if you want to go back in history, both homosexuality and heterosexuality were considered to be the norm and acceptable forms of sexual expression. So I think that it's in our Western culture that we have tended to teach people and to be socialized that sexual expression is for procreation, for reproduction only. And so people then, if they are experiencing themselves sexually outside of that purpose, tend to be ashamed of it. And yet we know the majority of our society is definitely expressing themselves sexually without the purpose of reproduction.
Throughout history, taboos have been used to keep order, to turn a chaotic world into an organized one. Mainstream religions held so much prevalence that its organizations and leaders held more power in their hands than the kings of old. This doctrine of rules, punishable by eternal damnation, would instill so much fear within people that a social standard for morality and sexuality would arise.
I think that sexuality should definitely be something that we all can talk about. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I believe that your choice in sexuality is just like a predisposition. So I don't see any difference, like love is love with any person. It doesn't matter if they're male or female or what have you. There are lots of taboos with, I think, connected with religion and sexuality that you can't really talk about, so that's one of the stepping points that you have to be careful with. But I think if everyone would just be a little bit more open-minded, I don't think there should be a problem.
I don't feel uncomfortable debating religion unless I'm in a situation where the other person isn't uncomfortable. I only want to do it in a proper forum where both parties are agreeing to have a civilized debate about it without emotions involved.
I don't feel uncomfortable debating religion. I think it's a subject that everyone has their own opinion on, and I feel that that's alright. I don't have a problem with other people's opinions on religion.
There's a difference between speaking up and just being like belligerent. And I think if you can be on the one side of the line where you just say, okay, this is what I believe in and I'm firm in these beliefs, and you know, whatever you think, that's fine, then I think everyone should do that. I have no problem listening to everyone's beliefs.
Some of the restrictions that we place on ourselves as far as what's okay to talk about and what's okay to share is really damaging. I think that in order to move forward as a species, that we need to be able to see outside of our current reality, and we need to be able to challenge ourselves that way, and to develop a true sense of community, then we have to allow all different perspectives to exist.
Taboos tend to come from strict views about things. And what I think's happened over the last 1,000 years is that we've learned that we need to be flexible, more flexible at understanding the human condition, because people are complicated things. Relationships are complicated, and sexuality is really complicated.
If there's anything you should do in these times, it's talk about what you're not supposed to talk about, because chances are if you're not saying anything worth a dime.
You can't create change if you're not talking about it. And I think we do need to create a place in our schools and in our society, in our communities, where it's safe and all perspectives are allowed to exist, and then we can actually really explore what's going on and create change.
It was really interesting that it was a taboo, for example, for Barack Obama's parents to actually have sex 40 years ago in Virginia. It was illegal. And he's now President of the United States. So it was a profound challenge to the notion that People of color, for example, aren't capable of leadership. It's a profound, profound change, and an example of we need to challenge taboos and sacred cows, and we need to question so that society can move ahead and move forward and actually progress.
Won't sleep on the floor like I should have known. Dreams are colors when November's chrome. I've lost my way